I got back from San Diego at 4:12 p.m. The Uber driver helped me pull my suitcase up the curb. I still had my brother's obituary folded in my coat pocket, creased, damp, unreadable now. I hadn't even taken off my shoes. I was still grieving, still holding that padded envelope he'd handed me 3 weeks before his stroke. He told me, "Open it when it's all over, and stay quiet until then." The house looked the same. Same wreath on the door. Same tiny crack on the bottom left tile of the porch. My son had promised to fix it last year. I raised my hand to knock. Then I heard them. His voice first. Calm. Fast. Practiced. "She's fragile. If we push too hard, she'll panic. Just frame it as support. Say the paperwork's just standard procedure." A pause. Then her voice, my daughter-in-law. "She'll believe it. She always does." I didn't knock. My hand hovered mid-air, fingers cold. I stepped back, quiet. I had just buried the only sibling I had, and they were inside planning how to dress up a trap in care. Not even 24 hours had passed. Not even a "How are you, Mom?" I didn't walk in. I walked back to the sidewalk. Sat on my suitcase like a fool. I called my old colleague, June. She used to work in probate law before retiring. She picked up right away. "Are you home?" she asked. I said, "At the door. Just not inside yet." She didn't ask why. Just said, "You already know, don't you? Don't sign." Not a single thing. I hated that I'd seen this coming and still hoped I was wrong. I remembered the sudden urgency in their voices the day I told them I'd be attending the funeral alone. I remembered them offering to handle your mail for a few days. I remembered saying yes. If family loves you, why does the first offer come with a form? I sat there for a long time. Then I stood up, brushed the dirt off my coat sleeve, and walked to the back gate quietly. The spare key was still under the flower pot, and in the kitchen drawer my phone was missing. I pushed open the back door like I belonged there, like I hadn't heard a thing. The kitchen light was on, the TV was playing some morning show rerun muted, and the smell of soup hit first. Chicken with too much thyme. She never used thyme unless she was nervous. It's Mom. My son called from the living room. He walked in arms wide like we were filming something. "We were just saying we hoped you'd come home tonight." I smiled. Long day. I took the 240 Southwest from San Diego. Landed early. I sat at the kitchen island, let my coat slip off like I was exhausted. Truth is, my legs were still shaking. Not from travel. She brought over a bowl, set it in front of me with too much care. "Eat first, then we'll talk. You'll feel better. Talk about what I didn't ask." I picked up the spoon, stirred, didn't eat. I watched her reach over to grab my purse casually. "Let me charge your phone," she said. "You look wiped." I let her. My hands stayed in my lap. They sat across from me, smiling too much, her voice syrupy, his tone too calm. I kept nodding like I wasn't clocking every move. Then they started talking over me softly, like I wasn't even there. "She's tired now's probably a good window. I can text Marla. She'll be here by noon tomorrow." Window for what I wasn't unconscious. Just quiet. If this is family, why does every sentence start with a strategy? I looked up. "You two okay?" I asked, my voice flat. I feel like I walked into a rehearsal. They laughed. Too loud. She reached over and touched my hand. "Mom, don't be silly. We're just happy you're home." I said nothing. I didn't ask for my phone back, but I saw where she slid it, second drawer under the oven mitts. The next morning, it was gone. And the morning after that, a man I didn't know rang the bell. At exactly 10 a.m. on March 4th, the doorbell rang. My son opened it before I could even stand up. "Right on time," he said, too casual. A man in a navy polo stepped in, holding a clipboard and wearing a lanyard that read, "Dr. Keener, Behavioral Assessment." His shoes squeaked, those hospital soles. I felt my stomach turn. "Hi, ma'am," he said, soft smile eyes scanning the room. "I'm here just to check in. Nothing formal. Just routine after all you've been through." I didn't say a word, just nodded. They all acted like it was normal. Like every woman who buries a brother gets a surprise mental health visit 2 days later. My daughter-in-law brought tea I didn't ask for. My son sat beside me a little too close. "We've been worried," he said. "You've seemed overwhelmed." I tilted my head. Overwhelmed by what funeral? Or being handed soup like a toddler? The doctor chuckled, fake polite. "This isn't an interrogation, Mrs. Ames. I'm just here to make sure you're feeling supported, that you're in the right headspace to manage, well, complicated decisions." There it was. "If I wasn't family, would you be doing this?" I asked. "Or is family just a nicer word for strategy now?" He blinked. Didn't answer. I glanced at my son. "If you're so sure I'm unstable, why'd you let me co-sign your loan last year for the Tahoe?" Remember that my son shifted. "Mom, please. That's not what this is." But it was exactly that. They wanted a doctor's note. Just one. Enough to justify temporary control of my assets, my decisions, maybe even my housing. And I had sat there, letting them play, concerned. I should have seen this months ago when she insisted on helping set up my online banking for convenience. That realization hit harder than the doctor's questions. Later that afternoon, I called Marlene, my old neighbor. She used to work intake at a psych clinic. I just said, "They brought someone in." Her voice dropped. "Get copies. Everything he writes. Now." I said I would. And that night, I opened the folder my brother left me. First page, trust clause. Second page, 2 names crossed out in blue ink. That night, I locked the guest room door, not because I thought they'd barge in, but because I didn't trust myself not to react. I sat on the floor with my bag in front of me. The same gray tote I took to my brother's house in La Jolla. Still smelled faintly like his cologne. I pulled out the thick envelope he gave me the week before he passed, right after breakfast, at the diner on Garnet Street. His handwriting was shaky, but still his. I opened it slowly. Inside, 2 deeds, both notarized. One for the ranch in Modesto, the other the L.A. house in Highland Park. There was also a letter, just 1 page. Short. "You always stayed quiet so others could eat. This time you hold the spoon. Don't let them take it." There was a USB drive too. I plugged it into my old Chromebook. 6 folders. Scans. Emails, a trust agreement filed under my name, dated January 9th. 2 names had been added, and then legally removed. I knew both my son and daughter-in-law. I felt my face burn, not just from betrayal, but from shame. I remembered when they asked to review his records for the trust, and I said yes. That was 2 months ago. I let them get close to everything because I wanted to believe they cared. I thought staying soft meant staying a mother. Now I wasn't sure what I was to them. I called Diane, an old co-worker from the hospital. She picked up on the second ring. "Tell me you backed it all up," she said. "Doing it now," I answered, dragging folders into cloud storage like my hands were on fire. "Don't argue with snakes," she added. "Just step back and film." That stung because part of me still wanted to believe this was just a misunderstanding. But if it was, why did they change my login info on March 5th, 3:07 p.m.? I found the alert. I never got the email because they'd already blocked me out. If family trusts you, why are they hiding your passwords? By 1:42 a.m., I had copies in 3 places, cloud, USB, external hard drive, and I slept with my jeans still on, just in case the door opened. The coffee tasted off. Too sweet, like someone had added 2 packets of Splenda instead of 1. March 6th, around 8:15 a.m. I was sitting at the kitchen table in my robe, staring out the window. The curtain had been shifted slightly. just enough to see the driveway, my son's black Toyota Highlander, parked sideways across the lawn. He never parked like that, unless he was in a rush or annoyed. He came in, didn't say good morning, just leaned on the counter and said, "Did Uncle leave you anything? Official?" I didn't answer right away, just sipped the coffee and looked at him. He continued, "You've had a rough week. We could help you sort things out. We could even set up a joint appointment with a lawyer. That'd make things easier for everyone." Everyone. I said, "If it's not your name on the deed, why are you in such a hurry to manage it?" He opened his mouth, closed it again. Before he could come back with something smoother, she walked in hair done, makeup light like she was hosting a brunch, not engineering a takeover. "Mom," she smiled, "we're just worried. You shouldn't be handling legal stuff on your own right now. We all benefit when things are clear. Clear for who I push the mug away. If family means care, why's the first offer always control?" Neither of them responded. Later, I called Henry, my old accountant from when I ran the bookstore. I hadn't talked to him in 4 years. When I told him what was going on, he said just one thing. "Did they use the word streamline?" That's always a red flag. I laughed, but it caught in my throat. What hurt most was how long I'd ignored the small things. The way she always asked to help with my taxes. The way he called only when bills came up. I wanted to believe we were still a family. Now I just wanted my own name back. She walked past me after lunch, touched my shoulder lightly, and said, "We're family." "You know that, right?" I looked at her and said, "Are we?" That night I booked a train to LA without telling them. I left the house at 7:45 a.m. Sharp. Didn't take the car they'd notice. I walked the 2 miles to the UPS store on 8th and Marigold with a flash drive in my pocket and 2 documents folded inside a CVS bag. The clerk didn't ask questions. I printed 17 pages black and white, 74 cents total. I paid in cash. From there, I caught a lift to the address my brother had scribbled months ago, for just in case he'd said half-joking. It was a small legal office near downtown, wedged between a dentist and a used camera shop. The kind of place no one looks twice at. I met with Ms. Devlin Estate Law. Mid-40s Sharp didn't smile much. She flipped through the deeds and scanned the trust file like she'd done this too many times before. When she saw the audio file, my daughter-in-law's voice saying, "She'll sign if you frame it right, just don't push too fast." She paused, then nodded. "They're preparing for emergency guardianship, probably through a psychological flag or health claim. You're right to move now." I didn't say anything, just sat there gripping the hem of my sweater. She drafted a trust lock, irrevocable clause, frozen change window title alerts sent to me and to her firm. Then she looked me in the eye and said, "You want peace, I get it. But don't confuse that with silence." That hit, because I had confused it. For years. I'd said yes to too many things to keep the family close. Let them register the car in my name, use my Costco card, even open a credit line for emergencies. I saw the signs and smoothed them over, hoping love would fix what logic already warned me about. I called my cousin Brenda while waiting for the lift back. Told her everything. Her only response, "You always were the quiet one." But they forgot. Quiet doesn't mean weak. If they trusted me, why'd they make moves behind my back? Ms. Devlin handed me the folder before I left. "They think you're alone," she said. "Let's keep it that way." I nodded and walked back into the storm. Friday morning, March 8th. The smell hit first chocolate chip cookies still warm. My daughter-in-law stood by the oven with a plate in her hand like we were in some TV ad. "You've barely eaten," she said, cheerful. I thought I'd bake something sweet for once. She doesn't bake. She orders. Always has. I played along. Took one. Nibbled the edge. Too soft. Too sweet. She sat next to me a little too close and slid a folder across the table. "This is just to make sure everything's clean and organized, so no one gets confused later." I opened it. A short form, 2 paragraphs, no heading, no law firm name, just a signature line and the phrase temporary authorization to assist. I kept my face still. Looks simple, I said. Let me grab my reading glasses. I stood up, walked to my room and shut the door. Quiet, but firm. Inside, I didn't grab glasses. I opened my laptop. I took photos of the form, sent them to Ms. Devlin and CC'd Marlene, yes, the neighbor. She'd agreed to be my witness if needed. I included the time location and a quick note. They're pushing again. 2 minutes later, Devlin replied, do not sign. Looks like a trap. We're ready. I stared at the screen for a second, then at myself in the mirror. What kind of mother lets things get this far? I felt stupid, small, angry at myself for not catching it sooner, for letting them use my own kitchen table to run this play. When I came back, I smiled. Sorry, I said. I brought the folder too. Thought I'd show you what I've been working on. I laid down my version. Full trust details, lawyer names, signatures, everything protected. Timestamps and all. She blinked. My son walked in just then, froze when he saw the paperwork. What's this? I looked at him. Just catching up, honey, since we're being transparent now. And as he opened his mouth, the doorbell rang. Sunday, 4:45 p.m., right before dinner. I laid the folder on the coffee table. One document on top, aligned, not rushed. No shaking hands. My son and daughter-in-law were already seated. My daughter stood by the window, arms crossed. I looked at all three. This, I said, tapping once, is the final structure of the trust. They stared. My daughter-in-law blinked first. Wait, are you saying it's already filed? I nodded. Filed, notarized, time-stamped, and protected. I've also revoked any informal access to my bank medical decisions and real estate. Permanently. You are not listed anywhere. She opened her mouth. My son raised his hand like he was about to mediate a board meeting. Okay. Let's slow down. Why now? Why suddenly this whole lockdown vibe? I stared at him. Why did you bring a doctor into my living room without my consent? He shifted. She spoke up. We were trying to help. You've been through a lot. Help, I repeated. Then why hide my phone? Why rush me to sign blank authorizations? If I'm unstable, how does it make sense to push legal forms under my nose? Silence. Just the ticking wall clock above the thermostat. I added one more sheet, the log of all documents I'd forwarded to my lawyer and the APS office. This isn't personal, I said. This is legal. My son stood slowly. Mom, you're blowing this up. I'm fixing what I let slide, I replied. They didn't yell. Not one of them. That's how I knew it landed. When people whisper after a hit, that's when you see the bruise. Marlene, my neighbor witness, spoke from behind them. You should be glad she's still being this calm. I wish I hadn't needed her there. I wish I hadn't let it get this far. But wishes don't hold up in court. I took one step back from the table. The folder stayed. So did the silence. Monday morning, 7:06 a.m. The kitchen smelled like burnt toast and someone trying too hard. No one made eye contact. My son stared into his coffee. My daughter-in-law stirred oatmeal like it owed her an apology. Even my daughter had her earbuds in pretending breakfast was optional. No one mentioned the documents, not the trust, not the revocations. Just stiff smiles and shallow breathing. I sat, took one bite, and put my fork down. Even the oatmeal tasted tired. I think we all got off track, my son finally said. Maybe we should talk things through. No lawyers, no assumptions. His wife jumped in. You misunderstood our intentions. We were just trying to make things easier. I looked at them. Then I looked at the toaster. The toast had popped and cooled. No one moved. I didn't argue. I didn't list the facts. I opened my phone and sent an email I'd written the night before, Subject line, personal boundaries moving forward. It was clear, neutral, polite. Bullet points, no drama, just structure. No access to my financials. No decisions made on my behalf. No more doctor visits without my consent. I included one question. If this is about family, why did it start with deception? My son read it silently. My daughter-in-law's face hardened. Marlene texted me at that moment. "You good?" I replied. "Yes, sent it," she wrote back. "Then leave the table. Don't wait for applause." I glanced at my son, same jawline, same tired eyes I used to kiss goodnight at age 7. Somewhere in me, I hated how far we'd come from that, and I hated that I hadn't seen it sooner, that I'd handed out trust like holiday cookies and ignored how few were ever returned. I stood, rinsed my plate, and left it in the drying rack. No door slammed, no dramatic line, just footsteps and a jacket. The car keys were exactly where I'd put them inside my zipped purse, under the receipt from Sunday's gas fill-up, $47.63 at Shell corner of Maple and 14th. I didn't leave angry. I left insured. October 18th, 3:14 p.m. The key turned smoother than I expected. Clean brass. No resistance. Just one quiet click and the door opened. My door now. My name on the deed. No borrowed space, no waiting for permission to breathe. I didn't bring much, 2 suitcases, my coffee maker, and the red sweater my brother gave me last Christmas. The LA house was smaller than I remembered from the photos, but the light hit the floors just right in the late afternoon. I left the windows open that night. No alarms, no cameras, no footsteps outside my door. By Wednesday, I'd spoken to the ranch managers. One in Paso Robles, one outside Bakersfield. Both knew the land, knew Grandpa. I didn't micromanage. I just said, keep it running. Fair pay. No drama. They agreed. One of them, Lenora, said your granddad hated paperwork, but he was never careless. You're not either, huh? I smiled. Not anymore. The first text came Thursday morning. My son, can we talk? I saw it. I didn't open it. I kept thinking, if he could talk now, why didn't he speak up when they tried to take my name off everything? If they trusted, I was okay. Why bring in a doctor behind my back? If it was family, why did it start with strategy? I sat on the back step that night, holding my coffee, watching the neighbor's dog chase shadows. For a second, I missed my grandson's laugh. Then I remembered how he wasn't allowed to visit unless I signed first. That stung worse than the cold breeze. Saturday morning, I drove up to the cemetery. Section B, row 4. My brother's grave still had the small flag I'd left at the funeral. I stood there longer than I planned. Whispered I didn't burn the bridge, but I stopped begging them to walk across it. The house was dark when I got back. I didn't mind. I didn't slam the door, but I changed the lock.